ones are being built by China in Mexico to make cars in Mexico by China to sell into the United States to come across the border with no tax. I said, wait a minute, you mean the big automobile plants under construction now are being built in Mexico? That's right. Now, he didn't care. He builds them whether it's here. He just, here's a guy who builds plants. He's the biggest in the world. I said, so they're being built in Mexico, and they're owned by China, and China's running them, right? Yeah. And they're doing that to avoid tax and labor, more expensive labor. And they're going to sell all those cars into the United States. So yeah, they're built so that he makes the cars in Mexico, China, and they sell them in here. I said, that won't happen. I said, I will put a 200% tax on every car that comes in from those plants, and they're not going to do that because they'll destroy our automobile business. And Biden doesn't want to get involved, and those aren't electric vehicles necessarily, those are gas-powered vehicles, which he's not doing anything about. You notice he's trying to save the electrical vehicle, but not the gas-powered, which is the vehicle that everybody wants. So you don't have to worry about those plants if I'm elected. If I'm not elected, those plants are going to close up every automobile job in America. You won't be making one automobile in the United States of America. And the United Auto Workers, who, you know, I'm leading in Michigan by a lot, because they're run by an incompetent man that endorsed crooked Joe Biden. And the first thing he does is sign this electric vehicle, this mandate, that where they're going to go crazy. They're going crazy with the electric car, costing us a fortune. We're spending hundreds of billions of dollars subsidizing a car that nobody wants and nobody's ever going to buy.
They weren't
and it's
ready.
just a shame. You see it. It's so stupid. And it's the same thing with foreign policy. Look at what he's doing with Israel. Look at what he's doing. This man is destroying our country. He's destroying our allies. And you know what? I was tough on our allies too, because our allies always took advantage of us. But once I got them straightened out, it was fine. I mean, we had NATO, and they weren't paying their bills. And they said, well, what are you going to do? He said, you know, Obama came in and he'd make a speech and he'd leave. Bush would come in, he'd make a speech, and he'd leave. Trump came in, he made a speech, and he went back and he said, you guys aren't paying your bills. And when I went back the second time, I couldn't do it the first time. I was in office for about two hours. You know, it's hard to go 2 hours. Like I think it was my second meeting, was NATO. And it's hard to go immediately. But I said, I'll be back in about 6 months. And when I came back, I said, you're not paying your bills. And they looked at me, they said, well, you mean to tell me, because I said, you got to pay your bills, or we're not going to protect you with NATO.
Yep.
And the press, the fake news went crazy. And you're talking about, hey, they screw us on trade, and then on top of that, we take care of their military. So I said, no, you have to pay your bills. And one of the presidents from one of the countries, 28 countries at the time, 28 countries, only 7 of them were paid up. The rest of them didn't pay. And the United States was paying much more than they should have, like by about 10 times. We were carrying NATO. So we get screwed in trade and we carry NATO. And I said, if you don't do this, we got problems. And one of them stood up and said, sir, do you mean to tell me that if I'm attacked in this very big country, if I'm attacked as a country by Russia, you will not defend me? I said, are you delinquent? He said, well, let's say I was. I said, if you're delinquent, I would not protect you.
Yeah.
And you know what happened? And the press killed me because they said, oh, you've treated it so terribly. They respect you more. They like me more than they like other people. They understand. They can't believe they got away with it. For years and years, they got away with it. South Korea, we're paying for their military. We have 42,000 soldiers there. They pay us nothing. I changed that. But now Biden, I understand, wants to break it. He thought I was too rough, and they're paying too much. They make a fortune. They took our shipping industry. They took our computer industry. They took so many different industries, and they're making a lot of money. They can pay for their military. And these are the things I was doing as president. Are you enjoying this? Let's get on to another subject.
Yes.